What's up, guys? We're talking PvP arena tier list today, and this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, actually, and I don't think I've ever talked about it on the channel before, but I have played more PvP than probably anything else in WoW. Got really high ratings, never got Glad, but Duelist for sure. I think 27 something was my highest, maybe higher, I don't really remember. This was a long time ago. But I have a thing or two to say about tier lists, and so I'm going to basically go through the different classes and specializations for arena and just let you know what is good or bad. And I'm throwing some stuff on here right now because these are just, no one plays these really. In Wrath of the Lich King, of course. So these are all pretty bad. So just don't even, I wouldn't even recommend playing them. Is this survival? That's survival, right? Yeah, okay. So this is, we're gonna get started. And we're gonna start with the Discipline Priest. Now, the Discipline Priest is insane. You know, it is, in my mind, the best PvP healer. You have incredibly powerful team comps. You've got RogueMageP, you've got Rogue Priest for 2s, Hunter Priest. You could pair any other like S tier class with a priest and do super well with that. They've got Pain Suppression, which is an incredibly powerful defensive cooldown. Psychic Scream is a pretty low cooldown AoE fear, which is amazing. You've got Dispel, which is both for offensive buffs on enemies or defensive for magic effects on yourself. Amazing. You've also got Mass Dispel to get rid of Ice Block, Bubble, Hand of Protection, whatever. So priests, I'm giving them S tier. And there's zero doubt in my mind that priests are, in my mind, the best PvP healer. Again, RogueMageP is like one of the strongest team comps in Wrath of the Lich King. It's crazy strong. I mean, honestly, like, they have to play it right, but priest is super strong, incredibly powerful healer class, so I'm going with S tier. Now, the next priest class I want to talk about, or spec, is the Shadow Priest. Now, the Shadow Priest is a little bit different than the Discipline Priest. You got a self-casted only damage mitigation called Dispersion. You still got that Psychic Scream. You still got Dispel, Mass Dispel. You've also got Psychic Horror. It's a 3-second horror plus a disarm effect, so it's pretty nice. And I've played a ton of arena. I did run into Shadow Priests occasionally. Those teams weren't necessarily that difficult to go up against personally, and honestly, not a lot of the top teams are running Shadow Priest. I'm gonna give them B tier. Now, that's not to say they aren't a good PvP specialization. You know, they are probably hands down one of the best duelers. 1v1, I think Shadow Priest can probably take on any class. Just when it comes to arena, I don't think they have what it takes. I don't think the team comps aren't there. I think Shadow Priests probably just need a little bit more. And I think that comes in later expansions, but I played mostly Wrath of the Lich King Arena. Now, the next class I want to talk about is the Hunter. Now, we already kind of put Survival down there. It's not super great, but what is super great is Marksman. There's basically, you've got baseline Deterrence, which makes you invulnerable to everything for a few seconds. You parry all attacks, spells get deflected. Aspect of the Monkey grants a ton of dodge chance. Freezing Trap is really nice CC. It's actually called like Freezing Shot now. You can like shoot the trap onto someone. Silencing Shot, really nice. Interrupt, Aimed Shot, Mortal Strike effect. Hunters have it all. They even have Chimera Shot if they're marksmen to disarm the opponent. Honestly, the teams that hunters can go with are very powerful too. You've got Paladin Hunter Death Knight, PhD. This is a gladiator team. African Turtle Cleave. This is also very powerful. This is Prot Warrior, Hunter, Paladin. Hunter, S tier. This is a fantastic class. You could play Priest Hunter in 2s and do very well. Hunter is, specifically Marksman Hunter, is very strong in arena, making it S tier. Now, next I want to talk about the Beast Mastery Hunter, and the Beast Mastery Hunter is very different from the Marksman. You still have those great baseline abilities like Deterrence, you know, Freezing Shot, all that stuff, but you also have Intimidation, which is a nice stun, and you've also got Beast Within, which makes you unCCable, and you've got increased damage. It's pretty strong, right? Now, this is really good with an Enhanced Shaman, and what I'm talking about here is Beast Cleave. This is Enhanced Shaman, Beast Mastery, Hunter, and a healer. Probably something like, I don't know, you could go with a Priest, because they're amazing healers, get that mass Dispel on any target. And the reason Beast Cleave is good is because you just pop everything and basically take someone out right at the start of the match, and that's sort of how the comp runs. Like, you pop Bestial Wrath, you can't be CC'd. The Shaman can't really be CC'd either, because we'll talk about enhanced Shamans, but they can't be snared after they place their Earthbind totem with the talent. We'll talk about it. But anyways, Beast Mastery Hunter, it's really strong, but Beast Cleave is very niche, and it's, against teams that can survive that initial burst, you're gonna eventually just lose to them. So it is powerful for sure, but I'm gonna put him at the B tier. All right, next I want to talk about Unholy Death Knight. Now the Unholy Death Knight is super strong. There's no question about it. They've got Icebound Fortitude, which is a 30% all damage reduction ability, Anti-Magic Zone, which is helpful for the whole team to reduce that magic damage. You've got Anti-Magic Shell, which is just for yourself. The Ghoul Gnaw, Death Grip, Strangulate, Death Pact for self-heal. You've got Chains of Ice, which is a really strong snare. You've got Desecration, 50% AoE move speed slow. Bone Shield, while it's active, you take 20% reduced damage from all sources, and Frost Presence to switch into if you're being targeted and taking too much damage. Death Knights have a complete kit for PvP. I love when a class has everything that they need, and quite frankly, they have a ton of great teams that they fit into, whether that's TSG, which is Warrior Paladin Death Knight, which is a gladiator team, very, very powerful, or PhD, which is Pally Hunter Death Knight, this Unholy Death Knight, very, very strong team as well. So I'm going to actually put Unholy Death Knight as A tier. Now, a lot of people might argue that it could go on S tier, but Death Knights, I would say, they're like, they don't have the highest, like, they have higher skill ceiling than some classes, but like there gets to a point where like there's only so much you can do. You've got 6 runes, you're tied down by their cooldowns and runic power. Any high level Death Knight who will tell you like you reached a point where you're skill capped, and it's not super high. There's not like a crazy amount of stuff you can do. So I'm gonna give Death Knights an A tier. I stand by that. They're really, really good, but there gets a point where it's like, what else can you do with 6 runes and runic power? So that's my stance. Very, very strong, but I'm sure there's gonna be stuff in the comments on that, but we'll see. Frost Death Knight, a lot of the same things as the Unholy Death Knight, except they don't have Anti-Magic Zone. They also have Unbreakable Armor. They can also go into Frost Presence. Honestly, in Wrath of the Lich King, it was a pretty decent spec, so I'm gonna actually put it at B tier. It's not as popular, but it definitely is still pretty strong. I would just say not as strong as Unholy. All right, moving away from Death Knight, let's talk about Warrior. Arms Warrior first. So Arms Warrior, I mean, there's not a lot to be said if you know a little bit about Wrath PvP. I mean, they've got Mortal Strike, Shield Wall, Shield Block, increases your chance to block by 100%. It's crazy. Intimidating Shout, AoE Fear, Shattering Throw to get rid of Ice Block, to get rid of Bubble, Spell Reflect, Pummel to interrupt spells. Blade Storm's actually a CC breaker. And by the way, we're talking about patch 3.3.5. Probably should have said that at the beginning. Blade Storm can actually, you can disarm the warrior during Blade Storm as of patch 3.3.5, which definitely kind of nerfs warriors a little bit. And again, they also have defensive stance, like Frost Presence for Death Knights. But overall, like, dude, S tier. Warriors are just so powerful in PvP. They do ridiculous damage. Arms Warrior is so good. So S tier for sure. Protection Warrior, we talked a little bit about earlier. African Turtle Cleave, Prot Warrior, Marksman Hunter, Holy Paladin. They've got Shockwave, which is, in addition to all those other things we just talked about, Intimidating Shout, blah, 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 Shield Wall. Overall, though, it's very powerful. I saw a lot of Protection Warriors in Arena, and they all did very, very well with the teams that they're running. African Turtle can be very good, but again, it's not like crazy good. I'm going to make it B tier. It's strong for sure, viable for sure, but it's not on the same level as like RMP, for example. All right, next up is Holy Paladin. And guys, listen, I played Holy Paladin at a high rating in Wrath of the Lich King a whole lot. This is actually also the thing, like, even though I didn't get Gladiator, I was in like Bloodlust, which was one of the hardest battle groups. So like, I don't know if you remember this back in the day, but depending on what battle group you were in, you could get Gladiator really, really easy, or it could be nigh impossible to get. And I was in the freaking hardest battle group. Like, you could look at the ratings in order to get Gladiator on Bloodlust. It was like 3,400 rating or something. I don't even remember. It was really hard. And it was super competitive. And people would come to this battle group. They'd transfer for a challenge. It was insane. I remember really good people would come transfer. But the reason I'm giving you this backstory is because I want you to understand that my opinion on Holy Paladin is informed. And I want you to know that Holy Paladin is a very strong healing class. But I think it's overrated. I think it's overhyped. I truly believe that, as someone who played so much Holy Paladin. If you're playing TSG and you're the Holy Paladin, this was me. We steamrolled through so many comps. There was one comp in particular that I dreaded, and that was RMP. If there is a rogue and a mage on you, and you're just not going to be able to cast. You can use Aura Mastery, Concentration Aura, but like, you're going to die so fast, and you're going to have to pop bubble way sooner than you think. And then if the priest is good, that's going to be mass dispelled off of you before you've even gotten a single heal off. RMPs, good RMPs, can dismantle a Holy Paladin. So I just want you to know that even though you're wearing plate, even though everyone's hype in Paladin, you are not invulnerable. They can be taken down. I'm sure it's going to be a very controversial thing, but I'm going to make them A tier. Now, I bet everyone would say they're S tier. It just hasn't been my experience. I think Holy Paladins, they're a little clumsy. You have to, I think if you peel for your Paladin very well, I think that's what they need. They need very supportive teammates. You need the Death Knight, death gripping, getting that rogue off you, strangulating that mage, giving you some space to breathe. But with a rogue and a mage on you at the same time, dude, you're not casting anything. That is my honest opinion. Just being totally honest with you, because I lived it. Now, what do Holy Paladins have, though? I kind of skipped ahead. I got into my little spiel, but you got Divine Protection. It's amazing, right? You go invulnerable. You got Hand of Protection, which is basically Blessing of Protection. They renamed all the blessings to Hand in Wrath of the Lich King, which is Bop, right? But now it's called Hop. You got Hand of Freedom. It's freedom. Hand of Sacrifice to prevent from being CC'd. Really strong. Really, really strong. Whenever your target takes damage, you take a portion of that damage. And so you can't be CC'd from things that break from taking damage, like Polymorph, Repentance, Blind, and so on. Hammer of Justice, or Haj, is a short-range stun. The short range is the key word here. You usually have to sacrifice your positioning to get it off, right? It's nearly melee range, Hammer of Justice, but not quite. It's still good. It's still a stun. Repentance, if you're we'll wait for Retribution. So those are the basic abilities of a Holy Paladin. It's a good class. Don't get me wrong. It's super powerful. All right, let's move on. I did my soap opera. Retribution Paladin. I also played a Retribution Paladin, and I would say that they are very, very good in PvE. They have a lot at their disposal. They've got Pursuit of Justice, which makes them move faster than everyone else by default. Repentance is a nice long-range CC that breaks on taking damage. They've got stuff. Judgment of Justice, so that the Druid can't slip away from you, right? Or any other class. The Rogue can't sprint. Judgment of Justice makes it so that you can only move at normal move speed. Now, Retribution Paladins, I'm going to put at C tier. Yeah, they're that bad. I truly believe that. Again, probably a lot of people thinking like, all right, I'm done. But I played it. I lived it. They don't really have good snare. Like, Judgment of Justice is okay, but that it's like they're just moving at normal move speed, right? Like, it's nothing crazy. Like, what if you're snared and then they're moving at normal move speed? They're moving faster than you. Like, your snare is to make them move at normal move speed. Like, just be honest. Just be honest with yourself. Like, I think Retributions don't have a snare. They don't have the greatest, like, Repentance is their gap closer. Like, that has a super long cooldown. Like, compare for a moment, if you will, like Repentance versus like a rogue who has like sprint, basically 2 sprints with preparation. They've got Shadow Step. That's like the ultimate gap closer. I don't know. It's just Ret Paladins don't have in my opinion, a full complete kit of like snare, gap closer. They don't have mortal strike. They don't have, they can go actually in PvP quite easily. I don't know if this is a bug or if it's intentional, but if you judge on a shielded target with like power word shield, you're not going to get mana back from that judgment. So like disciplined priests will disarm you in like 2 seconds. They'll just mana burn you 2-3 times and make sure they put power word shields on your target. You don't get mana back from a target that you use a judgment on that has power word shield. Whether or not that was a bug when I played or if that's real, dude, Retribution Paladins can be disarmed and dismantled. Seriously. All right. Well, enough of all this, but I've had a lot of experience playing as a paladin, so I just wanted to let you guys know like how it actually is. All right, Frost Mage. So Frost Mages are so strong. They've been so strong historically. They've got Counterspell, they've got Frost Nova, they've got Polymorph, Spell Steal, Blink, Ice Block. They have a complete kit. Tons of snares, tons of CC. They've got interrupts, they've got escapes, they've got Ice Block, right, to avoid dying. I mean, S tier. It's a great class. It's part of RMP. You could do tons of different Spellcleaves with a Frost Mage and do very, very well with that. I mean, Mage is fantastic. They've always been really good in PvP, and in Wrath, they're still good. All right, up next is Rogue. We're going to talk about rogues. Actually, I didn't talk about Fire. Fire is actually really good. You know, in PvP, I would say they're not like, you know, they're not insane. I'm making them B tier already. They have a ton of really good stuff. They dominate, honestly. I would say where they fall short is they don't have like Ice Block or something to keep them alive. You know, you see a Fire Mage in Arena, you just kill them. Just go kill them. You know, kill them in like 2 seconds. They do tons of damage. That's why you got to get rid of them. So yeah, they're fine, but they're not crazy good. All right, moving on to Rogue. So first up, let's just talk Subtlety Rogue. You know, they've got Sap, Kidney Shot, Blind. They've got great damage mitigation like Cloak of Shadows or Cloak of Skill, as we called it back in the day. Evasion, Gouge, Kick, and then, you know, if they're really in trouble, they can vanish, you know. So they've got escapes, damage mitigation. They've got ridiculous amounts of interrupts and CC. They can be part of RMP. They can play Rogue Priest, RLD, Roguelock Druid. You know, rogues have tons of teams to choose from. You know, they're one of the best. I'm making them S tier, of course, in the hands of a skilled player. I would definitely say Subtlety Rogue is super good. I feel like Rogue's always been good. They've always been such a powerful class in PvP. So it goes a little bit without saying, like they're super good. Now, another class, the other spec that is pretty good is Assassination. You know, you got the same level of CC. It's going to depend on like the itemization, basically what gear is available at, you know, a given season. But, you know, Assassination is actually pretty strong. I'm going to make it a B tier. I know in Venom, you know, it depends, you know, the matchup, but it goes through armor. And I just remember in Venom doing a ton of damage through plate, obviously for warriors, paladins, death knights. You're going to take a ton of damage from Envenom. Mutilate's super strong too. I've seen Assassination Rogues do some work, so I'm going to make it a B tier. It's not as good as Subtlety for PvP in my opinion, but I'm going to go ahead and make it B tier. When it comes to Shaman, well, let's start with Elemental. You've got Thunderstorm. It's that ability that knocks everyone back and, you know, pushes them away. You've also got Earthbind Totem, which roots everyone. If you're Elemental, AoE root is super strong. Bloodlust, huge. You can use that in Arena. Astral Shift is really powerful. You take 30% less damage while you are stunned, feared, or silenced. So very, very strong against like a rogue who thinks they're just going to lock you down and kill you. You're going to take 30% less damage during a stun lock. They also have Hex. This is like Polymorph, but it's a curse. It's super strong. So Hex is really, really good. I mean, I would say Shaman finally have a complete kit. They've got damage reduction. They've got some things to get away. And they've also got a CC. So I'm going to go ahead and give Elemental Shaman A tier. Really strong class. You know, I could even see the argument for putting Elemental at S tier. I could totally see that. They're super strong. But in my opinion, A tier. Let's move on to Resto Shaman. Now, Resto Shaman, pretty much same thing, you know, has all the above. But in addition, they've got, you know, their own set of stuff. I would say A tier. Not too much to say. I mean, everything that I said about Elemental is true for Resto, except minus Thunderstorm and minus Astral Shift. So Resto's, I would say it's a really good healing class. Really good healing spec. All right, Balanced Druid. We're going to talk about Druids next. So Balanced Druids have Typhoon. This is very similar to Thunderstorm, except it's a linear pushback. They've got Cyclone, one of the best PvP CCs in the game. There's Entangling Roots. Entangling Roots is just a snare, root in place. It's pretty good. Definitely, depending on what class you're using on, like Warriors can really ruin their day. We've got Innervate for mana. Bark Skin is damage mitigation. You can run into Travel form to get away quickly. You could even switch over to Bear or Cat form and you get a charge for both those forms. Balanced Druid is strong. You know, most of the time, it never was an issue for me. Like, I never saw a Balanced Druid was like, oh shoot. I mean, they can do some serious damage for sure if you leave them alone, but never personally had an issue with Balanced Druids. Never really saw them do that great. I don't think they're in any really like S tier comps. So I'm gonna go ahead and put, where the hell is it? There's not. It's not even an icon on here. Oh, I already put it here. Sorry. B tier. Who was sitting down there? My bad. What's next? Restoration Druid. Resto is great. So all the things I said above, Cyclone, Entangling Roots, Innervate, but also, you know, you can go into Dire Bear form and take less damage. You can bash, you know, Frenzied Regeneration. You can heal players without being in line of sight. I think honestly, Druid is probably one of the strongest healers in Wrath as well. You know, if you fully stack one of your friendly targets with HOTS, they become near unkillable. But they are very weak against switches. So you're going after one target, you switch targets to a different one, it has no HOTS on it, right? This is how I've always defeated Druids in Arena. Those really quick switches to another target that don't have any HOTS on them. So that is a big weakness for sure. I'm going to give them A tier. They're super strong, but I would say that they're not quite as good. I mean, they also can't get rid of like Bubble. They can't get rid of, you know, Ice Block, things like that, like a Priest can, which are game-endingly good being able to get rid of that. Now, finally, I want to talk about Feral Druid, and I got to tell you guys a story. Like, every time I saw Feral Druid in Arena, I was like, okay, we won, you know, but there was this one Feral Druid in Arena that I never beat, and not even close. And I'm just like, how is this Druid, how is this Feral Druid better, so much better than every other Feral Druid I've ever seen? And that's when I realized that Feral Druid in PvP has a ridiculous skill ceiling. There is a talent called Predatory Instincts, Predatory Strikes. When you use a finishing move, you basically get an instant cast nature spell, which you're going to use most likely on Cyclone. And so there's a ton of shifting forms, casting Cyclone, go back into Cat form, whatever, like go into Bear form, charge, and then bash, and then go into Cat and leap, and then, you know, do crazy amounts of stuff. Entangle one guy, like it's insane. And if you're a Night Elf, you can use Shadow Meld to act as a vanish. So you Shadow Meld and then you go into Cat stealth because you're out of combat after Shadow Melding. The skill ceiling is high. I've seen it's like almost like Hunter in vanilla. Like I have seen Feral Druids of legend, okay? And I've seen most Feral Druids not be of legend. But like I have to make it S tier. I have to. I you know, if you're good enough, I think Feral is one of the strongest specializations for real. Like they're really, really good. Just think about this. They can't be polymorphed. You know, like that's already huge considering how good mages are. They can't really be snared ever. You know, just shift out of form. It takes off snares, and they're really good. Infected Wounds is really strong as well. That reduces attack speed, and it also reduces movement speed. It's really strong. They also have Berserk, which makes them immune to fear. Feral Druid's amazing. It's fantastic. Instant cast Cyclone. It's amazing. Enough said. All right, let's move on to the last class, which is Warlock. Did I not put Enhance up here? Did I skip it? It's B tier. Man, I kind of suck at these tier maker things, but Arcane. I moved. That's where it happened. Okay. Well, Affliction Warlock, what can I say? It's super strong. You know, it got super buffed in Wrath. It used to be a support spec in TBC, and now it's basically like one of the top damage specializations in Wrath, and it's still really good in PvP. You've got Fear for CC, you've got Howl of Terror, you can use that teleportation freaking thing as a defensive or offensive cooldown depending on your situation. You got Spell Lock from your Fellhound or Seduce from your Succubus. You've got tons of damage over time, and like tons, I mean way more than ever before. So Warlock, honestly, I'm gonna make it A tier. It's really strong. There's a lot of teams that run with a Warlock, run with a Death Knight, Warlock Death Knight. You can run with a Shadow Priest even. You can run all sorts of comps and do very, very well with an Affliction Warlock. Now, one of the best, in my opinion, specializations is Destruction. They're really, really strong in Wrath of the Lich King. Same things as Affliction. You've got Fear, Teleport, Howl of Terror, but you also got Shadow Fury, which is an AoE stun. Chaos Bolt goes through absorption effects. You've also got Nether Protection, which gives you 30% chance to reduce that School of Magic damage by 30%. Baseline Molten Skin, 6% reduced damage. You've also got Seduce, Spell Lock, whatever, depending on what pet you have out. Destruction is super strong. I'm going to make them A tier. And honestly, it's kind of like on the border like some of the other things like Unholy or Paladin, like, or even Elemental Shaman, like maybe A+, right? Maybe A+ tier, but they're really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and put it there. When it comes to Demonology, this is supposed to be D tier. Fury, you know, it's not terrible. I'm going to put it next to C tier, even though it's probably better than Ret. I should make Retribution D tier. It's really something else. Oh, this is Feral. Is this Feral? Why is there two? Whatever. It's Feral. This is my tier rankings. I don't know why there's two of them there, but yeah, this honestly, guys, I would say if you play any of these classes in S tier, you're setting yourself up for success. If you play any of the classes in the A tier, you are also setting yourself up for success. If you play anything in the B tier, I think it's going to be a hard time, but you can still have fun. Anything in C or D, I would say it's probably just going to be a bad time, most generally. That's my honest opinion. And take what you will with it. It's just my opinion. So hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.